Bruchim Aboim zu dem Kinus Achdus Hachsidim Bekesher mit dem Yeim Shloshim von der Morde der Asra von Schunas Kan Ziva Hashem es Habracha Harav Goyen, Harav Chosed, Harav Arn Yaakov Alav Shalom Schwei. Was Goche Pratis kum vor der Kinus und Svadus in Reish Chedesh Siven dem Tag bei Yeim Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. Was ma wussten Chazal bei Yichan Sham Yisrael ki ish echad belev echad. Und der Rebbe ruft auf uns, wir sollen sich mechazig sein, befraten die Yom Masmuchim, wir kommen jetzt von Shabbos Achdus und befraten den Tag von Rosh Chodesh, ist sicher eine passende Zeit zu haben, Akinus von Avos Yisrael und Achdus Yisrael auf Achona von Matan Teire. Und sehr zugepasst ist das zu der Morde der Asra. Der Morde der Asra ist Yedua als Ish HaSholem, a Ish, was es gewinn, übergegeben. Bechol nafshay meoidai zu sehen, maschken sein Sholem im Bote Yisrael, ben ish le ishtei, ben ish le re'eu, und hat es getan an Eifen von Aaron, Eiv Sholem veredev Sholem. Und der Rebbe bringt allemal der Ovis der Rebnossen auf dem Mishne als Eiv Sholem veredev Sholem, als dort ne gewinne Eifen, was hat die allem gewissen a Liebschaft und a Ibegegebenkeit und a Getreigkeit, was allem das gefühlt in die letzte Tkufe. Hält man von Jiden über der ganze Welt an Nash und Tmimim. Sei Bechlal Anash, Balabatim, Askonim, Shluchim, Rabbonim. Wie alle dricken uns eine Kude Mishutefes, als ihm alle gefühlt, als der Rav beemes daiget le Toivosam. Sie das gewähnt Talmidim in Yeshiva, was haben das gefühlt, Bechol Eis mit Zeya, emese daige, auf der Gutskeit und der Teve von jedem Talmid. Und sie das die Schluchim, Bechol Katzli Tevel oder Rabbonim, sehen, geben sie an Idu, den Achizuk, nicht nur mit Asafel Chutz, nur Kolatzmeisei Teimarna, sie gewähnen mit Nafshei, übergegeben Bechol Nafshei Meidei. Ist sehr passend, als der Kinus kommt vor, in der Schedeschiven, wo wir alle Ishes Reu Yazeiru, Laochiv Yemer Chazak, wir wollen Herren von Rabbonim und Maschpiyim und Schluchim, bekerschen mit dem Inyan von Achdus, auf Achone zu Matan Teire. Beim Minig jedoch bei Shloshim, man macht das Siyum Mishnayis, soll mir anheben mit der Siyum Mishnayis von Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, und der Siyum wird machen der Sohn von der Morde der Asra, Harav Yosef Yitzchak Schwei.
I'll start with the last Mishnah of Mishnayis, Mesechtes Uktzin. Omer Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Osi da Kadosh Baruch Hu lahamchi lechol tzadik v'tzadik shloish meis v'asar olam meis. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, the Eibishter is destined to give every tzaddik in Elam Haba 310 worlds. Shenema, as it says, lahamchil oyev hayesh v'yitzaseyim amalei. I'll make inherit those who love me, and I'll fill their treasures. So the word yesh is the gematria of 310. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta, leimotza kadosh baruch hu kli machli baruch li Yisrael el hasholim. The Eibishter has not found a better vessel that could contain the blessing for the Yidden more than Shalom. Shenema, as it says, Hashem oizlam yitin, Hashem yivarchas amav Hasholim. Hashem gives his nation strength. Hashem blesses his people with peace. I would like to thank the organizers and the Mishtatfim of the Shloshim, and I would like to mention a bracha for my mother. She should have a Richas Yomim Vishanim Teves, and particularly how she stood by my father all the years, in the way the Zachinuch in yeshiva, and also the Zachinuch for us, and his Rabbanis, and it's also merumas in this Mishnah lahanchil oyev hayesh, the 310 olamis. I heard it's written that it's keneged, it's half of the 620 mitzvah, half of 620. The reason why it's half is because every person shares the schar of the mitzvahs that they do together with their spouse. I would also like to point out that the last pasuk, which is known as connected to Matan Torah with the Goyim, wanted to know why the world is trembling, so they were told Hashem oizlam yitain. The Eibush is giving oiz to the Yidden Oiz is ein Oiz al Torah, and then Shalom. This pasuk epitomizes the life of our father, Olav Shalom, together with the Haschola of Mishnayos. Me'emes HaKirn Nishma, in addition to the ordinary Taich, when these Me'emesai, from when these start reading Shema, it's well known the story of Rabbi Yosef Manipoli. When he started learning Mishnayos, he asked, how do you know that's the pshat? Maybe the taich is me'emesai, from fear, which is the union of emo, av, which is yira, and ava in Avodas Tefillah, which is something, another thing that our father was really into, the union of tefillah, and the union of Torah, and the union of shalom, and the Eibishter should help that v'achayit in the libay, particularly today, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, that we Vayichan Shem Yisrael, we prepare for Matan Torah with Achdus, and the Eibishter shall helfen that this Achdus should bring the immediate Hisgalus Malkeinu Mishichenu when V'akitzu V'ranenu Sheichni Ofar V'hu B'seicham B'mheir V'meinu Mamish.
Bekesher mit die Shloshim von der Rebbetzn Olav Shalom, der Rebbe der Mond in der Siche, als Inyan von a Shloshim is a Sach, a Filu von a Ish Prati, das Negeya auf ganz Klal Yisrael. Befrat am Redda von a Ish Klali, was is a Morde der Asren, a Schchune, in dem Rebben Schchune, und sein Übergegebenkeit is Negeya zu Chol, Teish ve a Schchune, was jeder eine, ka Kotten, ka Godel hat gefühlt, wie der Rav is Negeya, Pshas Agita Psak Halache, das gewinnt mit a Gefühl, mit der Hasbara, mit Geduld, auf ein Eifen, was hat gemacht, alle men fühlen a gute Gefühl, beschaß, man geht fragen a Scheile, man geht heraus von dem Rav, nachdem was man gehört die Tshuva auf die Scheile. Und das ist eine von den Jahren, wo sicher, wir wollen sich alle lernen, von der Indien, von der Drachim, von dem Rav. Und der Rebbe der Mann dort in der Siche, als die ganze Indien von der Yeride, was kann sein, auf der Tkufe, ein von Hepech HaChaim, mit das Nord-Zedech Aliyah, Lecholereish, also sein die Kieze Veranu, Sheichni Ofar, und so sein Teken von Miyad. Aber der ganze Yeride soll können bringen in der Linie von Vachai, Yitin Alibe, der kurze Yeride, als wir sollen sich alle lernen in der Eifen, von Yitin Alibe im Befrat, sich zuguckendig zu die Anhogis. Und die ganze Seder Achayim, was da Ayam zu lernen, ist Al-Koponim, jeder eine bin Yonei, zu sehen, Yitin Alibe auf gehen in die Drachim, was hat gewissen achsidische Seder Achayim. Wir haben jetzt das Chus rufen, dem Chaver Abesen Tzedek, Morde der Asra von der Schchuna, Harav Broin Shlita.
When we talk about the idea of Achdus as a Achana to Kabbalah HaTorah, something which the Rebbe told us so many times, we ought to remember what it says in Chassidus, that the way to reach Achdus is if we have bittul. Yeshus, ego, avas atzmai, gets in the way and doesn't allow us to have Achdus with someone else. This is something which is explained at length in Ichaltzu, and we understand this from so many scenarios in human life. I often tell Chas and Kala, with regard to Shalom Bayis, that when they look at a picture, a class picture, or a family picture, who's the first one they notice? They notice themselves, because everybody thinks about themselves. That's our ego getting in the way, and that's an ego which comes from our Nefesh Bahamas. We need to try to minimize our ego to some extent to allow space for someone else. And this theme is something that we saw so much with Rabbi Schwei. Rabbi Schwei was a Mekubal al Abrius, was a Noach al Abrius, got along with people, and that's because of his own bittul. A true emes chassidische Rav with an emes chassidische bittul allowed him to put himself on the side and to recognize and see that someone else is there. The way we could bring about a true achdus is to learn from the ways of Rabbi Schwei. Marking Rabbi Schwei's Shloshim is a time for us to reflect about how we can take these ideals of achdus and translate it into our own lives. Rabbi Schwei's memory is something which will always remain with us, something which we always know that here today, now, we have his memory in a real lasting way, and wherever we come to a decision in life, we can think about Mirham Gahata Rav. We had over here a Rav which was Mishichve V'mayla Gavoy Mikolam, head and shoulders towering above everybody else, and at the same time he didn't consider himself as such. He had a true emes Yiddish Chassidische bittul, that which Chassidus teaches us, and that allow him to have the achdus and to be able to be mekubal al abrius, noich labrius, kol she ruach habrius, noiche emenu, ruach hamakam noiche emenu. Soll der Eibishter helfen, sein Schuss soll uns beistehen, soll sein Hakitzu v'ravne sheichne offer, v'tzadikim, kamel etchia tchila, v'hu b'soicham, v'hu b'roisham, v'gula amidas v'al shleimam, al keinu b'rashenu, taken from Yad Mamish.
Ayashikeach, miln itzte haben des Chus zu herren von Harav Shmuel Lu.
To say a few words about Harav Aaron Yaakov Schwei, one could start from recent things. I saw some fantastic things in the Kvar Chabad magazine about amazing but not surprising from one knows him for over 60 years. We have here in England his very choshev son and mitzuyonim dike children, his grandchildren, every single one of them. One could speak about that, and he visited England many times, and every time I was in New York, we had at least a brief conversation, met and spoke, but I want to go back in my own earliest years in Tamchet Mimim. I came to Montreal in Cheshvan, it was Chodesh Cheshvan, Tovshin Yud Ches, that's 62 years ago. And Rabbi Yankel Schwei was then a bacher. His older brother was also a bacher. Rabbi Isaac got married that year, Beis Nissen. He was the mashgiach. And Rabbi Yankel Schwei was a bacher in the yeshiva, but he was entrusted with a group of us who were not that experienced in learning Chassidus. We had a kesh of a few years. I came from Torah Das, Osher Zeilingo came from Torah Das, other Bachrim from other places. In our Kita, we were under 18 years of age, and the night Seder of Chassidus was divided in two for us. We just had, I think, maybe a half hour to learn Chassidus. In the morning we learned, and at night there was a short Seder, and then we had a Seder of learning Gemara Legirsa, and the person who looked after us was Rabbi Yankel Schwei. That in itself was an experience in caring, in learning. We learned Masech Debeya in the Tovshin Yud Ches, we learned through it. And then we learned Chassidus, that thing, and we still had him to teach us the Hemshich of the Rebbe of Tovshin Yud Tes. Tishrei Yod Tovshin Yud Tes, it was right after the Maimorim came out then, and he taught us. On a personal level, these encounters and these learnings attracted me to him, drew me to him as a person. And whenever I had any issue, he would usually be the first person I would go to. I changed my tefillin in Tammuz, Tovshin, Yud Ches. I came to him and about buying the tefillin, and he wrote me out, I still have it today, on one sheet, all the concerns and all of the requirements and what Chabad wants. It's a work of art in itself. I remember the Farbrengens that he would Farbreng with us, with the Bachrim, and he would teach us Nigunim. I remember in Camp Gan Yisrael in Montreal, where he was the Rav, where he was a counselor, like, I don't mean a counselor over kids, a madrich. I mean a person who gave advice, a mashpia, a counsel, who helped everyone in their situation, and he had the most incredible talent of art, and he made paintings and pictures. He made the banners for both teams in Color War, and the field day, bog day, whatever they used to call it. He was a person with every single talent. But at the end of the day, he was a caring person. And just as one hears that went through all the decades, and he was a Rav, and looking after a very diverse and complex community with such success and with such dedication, not just to the community, but to each individual that came to him, that's exactly how he was to me personally, and that's my Hakaras HaTov. I remember just a few examples. I received a letter from an old friend who sees that I'm in Lubavitch, realized I'm in Lubavitch, and he thought that he's going to be Makarev me out of Lubavitch. And he sent me a letter of about 15 or 20 pages, I don't know, a long letter. And I could have just ignored it, not answered it, or written back some kind of a sharp, telling him off like I might do. I wanted to use it as an opportunity maybe to be Makarev this person himself. And I sat down, I remember just, Yabianko spent probably 2 hours with me, going through the letter, verbringing with me and giving me oisius and different concepts to be able to share with that person. This would be a typical way that he would spend an evening. To help an individual, a bacha, 18, 19-year-old bacha, and there were many other highly personal connections that we had. I have that HaKodesh HaTov, and an important part of what I got from those 4 precious years in Montreal was what I got from Rabbi Yaakov, and what I got from others was how he showed me how to get from others. Rosh Chodesh Sivan is such a significant day because that's the day Vayichan Shom Yisrael Neged Hohor. Avos Yisrael, Achdus Yisrael. That was the necessary Hakdama to Matan Torah. And the Rebbe says that is the significance of what we say in the Haggadah. Ilu kevonu l'fnei haSinai, v'lo nosen lonu es haTorah dayenu. If Hashem took us to the mountain, HaSinai, and didn't we're listing all the 15 beautiful brachas and milas and special gifts that we thank Hashem for, each on its own would be a great bracha. And the Rebbe asks, what is the special thing about Kevon of Nehar Sinai? If he took us out of Mitzrayim and there was no Kriyas Yamsuf, there was taking out of Mitzrayim. And the same with all the others. So what is special about Kevon of Nehar Sinai if there wouldn't have been Matan Torah? Where do you go to see the mountain? And the Rebbe says it means the Achdus Yisrael. Kevon of Nehar Sinai, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, Neged Hohor. That Achdus was something quite apart from the Inyan of Torah. There's a connection through Torah to Hashem, and there's a connection of Bnei Yisrael, mitzad the fact that they are Bnei Yisrael who are higher than Torah. So this has a kesher with the Shloshim, Rabbi Ara and Yaakov, who represented Avos Yisrael, Achdus Yisrael. He sought to have that. He actively pursued it. Oyev Shalom v'Roidev Shalom. Oyev es Abrius Mekovan LaTorah, which is his first name, Aaron, perfectly expressed in that expression in Pirkei Avos. And Yaakov, Briach HaTichon HaMavriach Men HaKotzer LaKotzer, consistent, straight, edel in every single thing. So Hashem should help that there should be aliyas on the neshama and a chayitin or liboy, and just as the hachana to Matan Torah was what's expressed by the names of Aaron and Yaakov, so as the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Lamed Vav of Tanya, that Matan Torah was the paradigm for his Galus HaMashiach that we should see his Galus Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Korev Mamash now.
Hayashekeach, miln itzte, haben dem Schus Herren von Arav, Reb Heschel Greenberg.
Rabbi Schwei, Alav Shalom, was known to be a person of Achdus, bringing Shalom, being Ish Le'ishtei, Adam L'chaverei. So it's appropriate to talk about the union of Achdus, especially as it pertains to the Tzav Hashah, Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. L'chaim, l'chaim. The subject is Achdus. But I want to focus on one aspect of Achdus. In fact, it's the core, the very essence of Achdus. We know that the Eibusha created the world because he wanted to bring Achdus Hashem in the land, in the earth, in the physical world, dir b'tachtenim. And when does that plan become a reality? Of course, it's through Mashiach. So how does this work? The Eibusha chose the Yidden. We are Goy Echad Ba'aretz. As the Alter Rebbe teaches, we have the ability to take the Echad and to invest it into Aretz, even into the physical world. And how do we accomplish that and fulfill and bring that to its completion? To bring it to the Geula Shlema, which is the time when the whole world will recognize B'yem Hu Yeh Hashem Echad Shmei Echad. Achdus will permeate the whole world. It's done through Mashiach, because Mashiach is the Yechida. Yechida is connected to the Yachid, is the ultimate in Achdus. And we were chosen to be the ones to take that Achdus and bring it in Ba'aretz. In general, the Yidden are Ein Deyasein Shaves. But our generation seems to be Mahader in Ein Deyasein Shaves. But that's not a Chasara necessarily. That could be the ultimate Maila. That the Eibishter wants that we should bring Achdus within the Ein Deyasein Shavis and the disparate views that we all have that make us disagree with one another. But what unites us is our uncompromised, unmitigated hiskashrus to the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach. That is the same by everyone, because that touches on the Yechida of our neshama. Our neshama's Yechida is connected to the Rebbe, who is the Yechida of all the neshamas. And that hiskashrus is there for every one of us. No one should doubt that's what makes us Chassidim. That's what makes us who we are. Now, if we were all of one mind, if we didn't have any differences of view as to what the Rebbe means and what he wants of us, then that would have been bringing Achdus into Achdus. That's not the Kavanah. The Kavanah is Ba'aretz. The Kavanah is to bring Achdus into multiplicity. Rabbi Yosef, the Gemara says, and the Gemara Rebbe brings this several sichas, Ilav Hayem et Chagarim, Kama Yosef Ike Beshuka, that what happens before Matan Torah, there'd be a lot of Yosefs, there'd be a lot of Giluyim, a lot of great things happening, even in Kedusha, but it would be Beshuka, it would still be in a fragmented world. The Eibishter gave us the Torah to make the Achdus Beshuka in the divisive world, in the world that is Ein Deyasein Shaves. And through that, we're able to impact the whole world, that the whole world should recognize that unity within the multiplicity. So instead of thinking of our differences as all negative, let us realize that they're all part of the process. We have to bring Achdus into our differences. But that's easier said than done. So the Rebbe gave us a formula. The Rebbe spoke in several sichas, but especially in the sicha of Kayach Nissen, the landmark sicha, that we have to bring Eiras de Tehu B'Kelim de Tikkun. What does that mean? Mashiach is about taking the powerful forces that are unrestrained, monocolored, monolithic, very, very powerful, doesn't give room for anything else. That's the light, the Eir of Tikkun, the chaotic light, very powerful, overbearing, overwhelming light, and have those lights refracted into the broad and diverse Kelim of Tikkun, without losing the power of Tehu. If we reduce and filter Tehu, it's not Geula. It's Golus. Things run the way they've always been run. Olam Kiminhage Neheg. The world just follows a pattern of concealment. If we allow the Eiras de Tehu to go unrestrained, that overwhelms the world. So we're back again in Golus. That's what Golus is. Golus is Eiras de Tehu, but it's not channeled into Kelim de Tikkun. Geula, the Rebbe says, is the ultimate synthesis. We don't lose sight of the Tehu, while we don't overwhelm the vessels of Tikkun. How do we accomplish that? The Rebbe said by learning in Yani Geula Mashiach, because Torah possesses the power to fuse two opposites, chesed and gevura, tayu and tikkun. It's an ultimate synthesizing power. So what does it have to do with unity? What divides many of the Chassidim is how to translate the Rebbe's ideal of bringing the Geula Shlema into practice. It's like the Talmidim, the Rabbi Akiva, were all passionate about what the Rebbe wants us to do to bring the Geula. Every one of us wants to bring the Geula. Nobody wants it any less than anyone else. And we have strong debates about this, like Talmidim, the Rabbi Akiva. One side says we should publicize the identity of Mashiach, and that will spur Kabbalas HaMalchus. After all, the Rebbe spoke about what we have to do now is Kabbalah Pnei Mashiach Tzedkin, Kabbalas HaMalchus. And you can't have a Melech without the Kabbalas HaMalchus. It has to come from the Am. The other side says that if you do so, you'll overwhelm people and turn them away from the Rebbe and from Chassidus and from Mashiach. And there's no Kabbalas HaMalchus from those people. That's not the way to do it. And the truth is that both sides, both positions are true. If you don't know who Mashiach is, you can't be Makabel Pnei Mashiach if you don't know. I know there are other Perushim in Kabbalas HaMalchus, and I don't think they're a steer to the basic understanding that you're accepting Mashiach as your Melech. On the other hand, to turn people away from Mashiach, we prevent people from being Makabel Pnei Mashiach. It's no trick that the Chassidim of the Rebbe recognize the Rebbe. That's bringing Achdus into a place of Achdus. It's to bring it into the world that has different views and doesn't look at the Rebbe the way we do, and we have to get them to accept the Rebbe. So the argument is a very good argument that we can't do it in a way that alienates people from the Rebbe and from Chassidus. So what do we do in this case? And also, another point, and this is V'hu ha'ikar, as the Rebbe would always say, Rashi in Dvarim says, "Vayhi b'shur melech b'hisasef Rosh Hayom." That when could there be a melech? When is the Eibishter our melech? B'hisasef Rosh Hayom, when there's unity. So there's no Kabbalas HaMalchus because the melech doesn't accept without the unity. So both sides fighting with each other, even though each side wants to bring about the Kabbalas HaMalchus and the acceptance of that Kabbalah, we're driving away the Melech, so to speak, from accepting that Malchus. So how do we do that? And everyone wants to see the Rebbe again, one way or another. So the answer to that is implicit in the Rebbe's words. The Rebbe in that Sikha, where he talks about Eres the Tayo B'Kelim the Tikkun in the Sikha of Tazriya Metzera, says you have to learn Torah. Torah is the power to synthesize, but you have to learn it with bittul, the Rebbe says, and it's based on Likutei Torah. This means that we have to put aside what we think to ourselves is what the Rebbe means, not chas v'shalom to put away the Rebbe's words, but to ask ourselves, am I stating the Rebbe's position because this is my understanding of it, and I'm going to fight to the very end because it's my understanding, and I don't care really what the Rebbe says. I care about my understanding what the Rebbe says. So I'm really fighting for myself. And I cloak it in the Rebbe's words of the Rebbe's words. Or one side that says this is what the Rebbe means, and the other side said no, this is not what the Rebbe wants and the Rebbe means. If both sides ask themselves, what does the Rebbe want? And I'm prepared to see the other side's point, even if it makes me uncomfortable, and even if I'll disagree with it at the end, then we'll be able to come together. In practical terms, there are people who are beteva eres the tayu. They're powerful people, a lot of energy in them. And others who are beteva, by nature, kelim detikin. Calm people, people who like to understand and analyze everything. Ilu zechinu, if we had sufficient bittul, all of us would have synthesized the two within each and every one of ourselves. Each one of us would have unleashed the eres the tayu part of us, our neshama, and the kelim detikin. So then we would have individually the unifying power of Torah and the unifying power of the Rebbe to bring about the Geula. Alas, the Davenenu, we didn't succeed in that direction, at least not until now. But at least there's another approach. Let us put aside our egos and have the Kalim Detikin people respectfully listen to the Eres the Torah people and vice versa. Let the Eres the Torah people come together with Kalim Detikin and listen to what they say with an open mind, because no one could guarantee that his understanding of the Rebbe is necessarily 100% what the Rebbe says and Rebbe means. I have strong beliefs, I have strong convictions, but I'm willing to listen to what the other side said, even if I will disagree in the end. And it has to be in a way of the opposite of le'nagu kavod zeh b'zeh. The main thing is we have to inculcate within ourselves that we shouldn't say I'm defending the Rebbe's views, because you're talking to someone who thinks equally the same, that he's defending the Rebbe's views. And even if we think he's 100% wrong, not 99%, 100% wrong, but we're not defending what we're saying because this is the Rebbe, and we're schlepping the Rebbe into our differences. And it only gets the other side to stiffen its resistance, and then it becomes le'nagu kavod b'zeh. Even if there's Abbas Yisrael between one and the other. And sometimes even that could be missing. So l'chaim, I said that l'chaim, I want to remind myself of the significance of the word chaim. It has a connection to where I come from Buffalo. I don't remember which year it was, but it probably was in the Lamids. Lamids or the Mems. It was maybe the Mems. We brought a group. Nosson Garari, my Yedidi Minayar, brought a group of people from Buffalo to the Rebbe to be by the Farbrengen. And one of the people that was supposed to be there, in the end he couldn't come, was a Nobel laureate, Dr. Herbert Hauptmann, who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, whose Hebrew name was Chaim. And I believe that the Rebbe was addressing him when the Rebbe spoke about the significance of the word Chaim, which is in the plural. And the Rebbe said, why is Chaim Lashon Rabim? Why is it plural? He says, because in order for Chaim to be worthy of its name, to really be Chaim, real true life, it has to be shared with someone. It has to be devoted to someone else. Living by yourself without connecting to the other is not Chaim. And perhaps that may be one of the reasons why we see them focus so much on saying l'chaim, and you don't say l'chaim to yourself, you say it only to another person. It has to be to another. And it's interesting, this professor who won the Nobel Prize, it was in the area of chemistry. Now in chemistry, I know very little about chemistry, but I know that water is H2O. You can't live without water. But you can't live if you only had H, hydrogen, and you can't live if you only had oxygen. You have to put the two together, and that becomes the greatest source of life. So the Rebbe is telling this chemistry professor, and through him he's telling every one of us, that we have to start learning how to get our chemistries. It's not easy. It's a challenge. I'm challenged by it. We're all challenged by it. But it was looking at what has happened that was the opposite of Chaim in our community and throughout the whole world. So we have to take to heart Chai Itin Alibay. And what do we have to take to heart? That we have to focus on Chaim, bringing the two elements together, the hydrogen and the oxygen, the Eres the Tayo, Kalim the Tikkun. And through that Achdus, that'll be the force that will bring us to this galus of the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, take it from Mayad Mamish, L'chaim, L'chaim.
In connection with the Inyan of Nagu, Kavod Zeh Lozeh, to be with an approach of one heart, one to another, with care and concern one for another, I think it's appropriate to share with Klolos Anash, although the Rav wrote this to his family as a tzava, but it's very applicable, the idea of it to all of Anash, and especially his connection with the Kehillah, with Gans Klolos Anash, was something that he related to them, mamish, as an extended family. So I want to read one part of a tzava that the Rav wrote, and it's something to really appreciate and take to heart. Mitoich ava v'chiba yiseira l'chol echad mikem, bakashasenu shetucha lefneichem, shekol echad mikem, yidag l'teva zulosai, v'yishtatev kol echad b'simchas zulosai, v'tishtadlu ma'oid lazer echad lahasheni. And then he continues that he too will be mishtatif v'nidig lechem sheyeh tev lechem begashmis v'beruchnis u'mikol mokim sheyeh nishtadel avurchem b'is'eris rachmim rabim aleichem letev lechem kol hayamim. In brief, the translation: with great love, profound love, and deep affection to each and every one of you, my deepest desire that all of you should be concerned one for another, to participate in each other's simchas, and do your utmost to help one another. And I will do the same from wherever I will be. I will pray for you on high to this Eiris Rachmim Rabim for all of you, L'Tev Lachem Kol Hayamim. The message is very clear. This is what it means, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad. The keli for all the brachas on high is when we are Kulanu Ke'echad, Ke'ish Echad, Ubelev Echad. We'll need to beten Harav Rameshe Briski zu adressieren dem Kinus.
A good Rosh Chodesh and a good Erev Shavuos. I've been asked to say a few words about my Rabbi, Rabbi Schwei alav shalom. So I'd like to begin with the Mishnah from Pirkei Avos, being that we're holding the days leading up to Shavuos. In Perik Sheni, Mishnah Tes, Chamisha Talmidim Hayyolei Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 Talmidim. Now we know he had thousands upon thousands of Talmidim, but these were his 5 closest Talmidim. Ve'elu Hain, and these are them: Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkenis, Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananya, Rabbi Yosi HaKohen, Rabbi Shimon ben Nesanel, and Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. Hu haya meine shvachim. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai used to praise them. He would give them a nickname that he would always call them, and these names would be names of praise. And in these names, he would define the character of these 5 students. So about Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkenis, he would say, Bor sud she'enei ma'abe tipa. He is a cemented cistern that doesn't lose a drop. It holds on to everything. All of knowledge that he ever received, he holds on to, he doesn't forget. Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananya, about Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananya, he says, Ashrei Yeladetai, praise be the one who gave birth to him. There's a story about his mother and how she would bring him to the Beis HaMedrash even as an infant, and she devoted his life to Torah learning. Rabbi Yosi HaKohen, Chassid, he would call him a Chassid. Rabbi Shimon ben Nesanel, he would say, was Yirei Chet, one who was a Yiras Shamayim, who always feared sin, was in awe of the Eibishter. Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, Kemayan HaMeskabe, was a river that continuously gained strength. And you listen to these 5 Meinei Shvacham of the students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and you think about the life of Rabbi Schwei alav shalom, and he doesn't just fit one of these descriptions, but he lived the life of all 5 of these descriptions. In everything that we personally knew about him and all the stories that we have heard about him, every single one of these descriptions fit my Rebbe, our Rav, Rabbi Yankel Schwei. If you go further in the Mishnah, he goes ahead and he says he gave them a homework assignment. Amar lahem tsuru ezi derech teva sheyidbak baha adam. He says to the 5 students, go out in the world, observe the world, and come back and tell me that one quality that's the most important quality for a person to cling on to. So Rabbi Eliezer came back and he said, Ayin Toiva, a good eye. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Chava Toiv, a good friend, to be a good friend and to have a good friend. Rabbi Yosi Omer Shachen Toiv, to be a good neighbor, to have a good neighbor, to build a community, to strengthen a community. Rabbi Shimon Omer Haroya Es Hanoilid, he who can see the consequences of the actions, the consequences of the decisions, what will come forth from their behavior. And Rabbi Elazar says, Leiv Toiv, a good heart. Amalahem, Roya Ani Es Divrei Elazar ben Arach Medivreichem, Shal Bechlal Devorav Divreichem. that I see in the words of Leiv Tov of Rabbi Loza, the quality of a Leiv Tov includes everything. And once again, I ask all of you, think about these qualities. Every one of these qualities that have been mentioned over here in this particular Mishnah, and we think of Harav Schwei, and we realize that he lived the qualities of all, and what stood out most was Leiv Tov, that he had the Leiv Tov, and everything came from the Leiv Tov. On a personal note, I had the good fortune of having Rabbi Schwei as my Rebbe 3 different occasions. First, he was the first to teach us Chassidus. So when we were in 9th grade, after yeshiva was over, this was I think about 6:10 p.m., is when we started learning Chassidus for the first time with Rabbi Schwei. He would teach us Tanya. It's not an easy job to teach at 6:10 p.m. after a full day of Limudei Kodesh, and for some of us Limudei Chol, and you're anxious to get home, you're anxious to relax, you're anxious to eat, and he would have to have us in the classroom at that particular hour. I remember, and I'm sure those of you that had him teach, especially with Chassidus, he would repeat the first word of each lesson. So if the word was Vehine and Tanya, he would say it over and over. But as he would say it, he would be eyeing the entire class. And what he was looking for was to see if he had your attention. And he would only begin when he had absolute attention of every single Talmud. Some Rabbeim knew that they can teach if they had 5, 6 with them. If the rest dozed off, they dozed off, but they had their few chaver that they can teach. Not with Rabbi Schwei alav shalom. He would want to make sure that each and every single one of us students in the class, everyone was with him. And he would continuously gaze throughout the class as he would repeat, Vehine, and look around, Vehine, until he had that absolute attention. And then he would teach us. I also remember, as those of you also had at this particular time, that he would begin each class by giving us cookies. Now, we weren't kindergarten kids, we were close, but he also knew that we were hungry. And therefore, before he began, he made sure to pass around cookies for everyone, and then he would begin. But that was him. He cared about you. He cared about us. Then I had him again in 3rd year Masifta. He was our Rebbe. 3rd year Masifta was our 11th grade. And he lived the part. He wasn't just a Rebbe of Torah. He was a living Torah. He wasn't just a Rebbe of Gemara. He lived the Gemara. He wasn't just a mashpia of Hasidus. He was the Chassid. And I remember so vividly how he would make eye contact with each and every single Talmud, and especially if you were asking a question. He had this style. It was a unique style that when you asked him a question, he would stop, he would pause, he would look at you, and it could be for like 30 seconds of just silence as he stared at you and was contemplating the question, and only then would he answer. Now, for us as a student, what that meant was that our question really mattered to him. He was deeply thinking about what we asked. Whether it was a question in Gemara, whether it was a question in Hasidus, whether it was a question about life, whether it was a question about anything else, every question that we as students would ask, Rabbi Schwei took the time to first contemplate, to think, and then to answer. Your question mattered. I also remember that he called me Moshe David. He called us by our full names. He didn't just call us by one name. He called us by, if we had 2 names, by both names. It was extremely, extremely endearing. And if we would speak to him one-on-one, he would often hold your hand while you spoke. We were a bunch of these rowdy high school kids, but he knew how to tame us and how to bring us this state of calmness, because he was always so very calm, so delicate, so sensitive, so caring. He really cared about us, about each and every one of us, and you felt it. You knew it. And then 2 years after that, Rav Ushbal was ill, and Rabbi Schwei became one of the Rosh Hashivas of Ocean Parkway, and he moved from the Masifta into Beis HaMedrash. I was fortunate to have his table was literally right next to where I sat in the Beis HaMedrash. So although he wasn't my Magid Shir, I was then in Rabbi Bukadol of Shalom's Shir, but Rabbi Schwei was in the Beis HaMedrash. He answered questions for us, and I would sit literally right next to him, and we would often engage in conversations. And I remember, it's still so vividly, out of the blue, one day he asks me this question. He said, Moshe David, what do you think you want to do after you get married? Think for a moment. I was 17 years old, and he's asking me what I was thinking about, what I would do after I got married. I had absolutely no clue. And then he answers the question for me. He said, you're probably going to be asked to go on shlichus somewhere, but I think you should consider becoming a Rav. I don't think at the time I was considering anything. I was 17 years old. But the impression that this made on me, this simple conversation, this question and his answer, it was life-altering for me. It's 40 years later, and no, I'm sorry, I didn't become a Rav. But I've never forgotten the conversation, because it told me that he believed in me, that he saw some potential in me that I didn't see. To all those who are listening that are in the world of chinuch, whether a mashpia, whether a mashgiach, whether a magid shir, a rosh yeshiva, a rebbe in yeshiva, a malamed, we all need to learn from Rabbi Schwei alav shalom, so that 40 years later, your Talmidim will never forget the inspiration you will have imparted upon them. We need to learn from his warmth. We need to learn from the way he never, ever raised his voice. Not once do I remember him yelling at us, screaming at us. He never raised his voice. It was always calm. And he believed in the potential of every one of his Talmidim. He was genuine and he was sincere. And he loved us with all of his heart, and we loved him. He was a role model for us, a role model as a Rebbe, a role model as a Chassid, a role model as a Rav. May his neshama go higher and higher in the heavenly worlds. May he bring strength and comfort to all of his family, to all of the mishpacha, to all of the community of Crown Heights, to all of his Talmidim all over the world, and all of Klal Yisrael. And may he, together with the Rebbe, go ahead and storm the heavens, so that indeed we have the Geula. The Geula should come even before Shavuos, so indeed we can climb our own mountain, the mountain of the Har HaBayis. We can climb to the Beis HaMikdash with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. It should happen speedily in our days. Amen.
Yashikeach, we will shortly be playing a short video clip of words that the Rav, the Mored Asra, said this year at a Farbrengen in 770 that's very much connected to the time we're in now, Hachana for Matan Torah, preparation for Matan Torah, specifically the inyan of Limud Torah. But before that, let's take a moment to reflect on the uniqueness of the Baal HaShloshim that we are gathering now for. Much has been said about his greatness in Torah, his greatness in Piskei Halacha, his greatness in care and concern, his Yiras Shamayim, his Chassidishkeit, his Iskashus, his Emunah Mashiach. But they all carry one common denominator. In all of the great ways of his Mahalach HaChaim, his whole lifestyle, it was all permeated with one Nekuda, and that Nekuda is emes through and through. He very often, at Mesibis, would share experience, a childhood experience. He heard from one of his mashpiyim in his younger years, I believe it was Reb Nissen Nemenov, who once quizzed them. And he asked them, how is it possible that somebody should be saying every word of davening, not missing a word? Furthermore, even being able to have Pirush HaMilas, knowing the interpretation of every word. And yet, the person didn't daven. They were all puzzled, how can that be? He's davening, he's saying all the words, he knows the meaning of the words. And then he explained, the Mashpia explained to him, that one can be saying all the words of davening, but you're talking about someone else, not yourself. And the example he gave was, Arimimcha Hashem kidilisani. David HaMelech is saying, Arimimcha Hashem, we're talking about David HaMelech praising the Eibishter. But that's not the kavanah of davening. Davening kavanah is to hear those words and personalize it, internalize it. It should be, Arimimcha Hashem is coming from me, this is mein Eibishter, and I am being Arimimcha Hashem. And the same is true in every part of davening, and the same is true in all areas of a Yid's life, a Chatz's life. It's not things that we do, it's not things that we say, but it is who we are. It resonates within us. And this is something that was true in all of the extraordinary hanhagis of the Rav. It wasn't just knowing that you must say an answer of a psak kach v'kach, but it's something that really was internally a care and a concern. And naturally, what came out to everyone who approached him was care, concern, love, understanding, compassion. Everyone felt it equally. And the same is true with his hanhagis of davening and learning. His davening was exemplary in one, that every word was full of meaning, full of interpretation, full of depth, full of life. And so was his learning, and so was every area of his chassidishkeit, his iskashrus, his emunah Mashiach. It was really, genuinely real and true. And this is something, especially now as the Rebbe is calling on us to prepare for the ultimate Matan Torah, the Matan Torah of Teirasi Shel Mashiach. And in the Sikh of Nun Aleph, the Rebbe elaborates how when the Eibishter gave the Torah, the Eibishter said, after Vayichan Sham Yisrael Kish Echad B'Lev Echad, now came the time Ashah She'etelem Es Teirasi. The Eibishter is ready to give the Torah. And the Rebbe says, today the Achdus is one that is calling on us to reveal and connect to Yechidah Shebenefesh, the deepest depth of our souls. Because we are now readying ourselves to get the Gilui of the Torah of Mashiach, which is the Yechidah HaKlalis. And the Eibishter needs that Achdus of all of us so that he can say, Higia Hashah She'etelem Es Teirasi, the Torah of Mashiach, as we stand here on this great day of Rosh Chodesh and learning from a great chassid of the ways of a great chassid, what it means to pursue Achdus and Shalom, what it means to live a genuine connection to Torah, to the Eibishter, to the Rebbe, to Mashiach. This is a time we all want to take it to action and implement a real Achdus, Ish Echad, B'Lev Echad. We've heard wonderful words from the Rabbanim and Mashpiyim and Shluchim. It's all so that we can awaken ourselves to really go in these ways. The Rebbe is calling on us now to take real action. We can do it. Stepping out of our comfort zone, stepping out of our mindsets, and recognizing my next step can be that which will bring the Geula Shlema for the entire world. We will now hear where the Rav speaks at a Kinus this year in 770. And the theme which we hear now in this video clip is something that the Rav was very, very passionate about. And interestingly, it's something that he heard many years earlier from the Rebbe in the Yechidus, in which the Rebbe told him that when it says, literally when you go in the street, the Rebbe gave him a ra that he should chazir divrei Torah. And anyone who noticed the Rav walking on the street, he was always chazering Torah, whether it was Mishnayos, Tanya, or whatever else. When he would be walking with children or Einiklach, that's all he encouraged them. Was time gelernt. He would walk with Talmidim, and he would encourage them, Chazer noch perik Tanya balpeh. And interestingly, when they would chazer, whatever perik they were chazering, he would be able to correct them with words of chulu and vichulu, etc. It was something that was really part of his life. Why? Because many, many years earlier, he heard a word from the Rebbe in Yechidus that became life, that became natural to him. I just want to take a moment to read a letter he received from the Rebbe, in which we see how the inyanim that the Rebbe told him once, and all he needed to know that this Zairav from the Rebbe, it became a light in his life, it became something that he exercised at every opportunity many years ago. As a bacher, he was not well, and he had to be an extended time spent in the hospital. And during that time, he did a lot of mivtzoyim. He put on tefillin on Yidden, on patients, on doctors, and he wrote to the Rebbe about it, and he received an amazing letter from the Rebbe. I'll just read one part of the letter. Kibalti hayediyah, from a chassid who went to visit him, v'yiratzen, sheyeh b'atzlacha l'refuah kreva l'refuah shalema. And here the Rebbe continues, v'kivin, she'ein itonu yodei adma, bevada yenatzel hayomim shenimtza sham, lahakid as b'nei Yisrael hashasham, that we don't know the reason why it happened, but you'll surely utilize the days that you are there to come into contact with all the Bnei Yisrael, to speak to them, b'dvarim divrei his'erus v'idud ruach, which means to be mechazik them b'bitchenam Hashem Yizbarach harreifei chol basar u'mafli lasis. Uli eiradam lo yisafa binyan teiru mitzvahs, kol echad lefi ma'amodei u'matzavei, udvarim hayetzim min halev, nichnosim al halev. And then the Rebbe adds these words, Umi yodeya im lo'eiz kizois ha'igat v'chulu. And here, the Rebbe is telling a bacher that who knows if this is the reason why Bechlal you ended up in that place, is that you have an opportunity to meet Yidden, to encourage them, to uplift them, to be mechazik their bitachon. These are words many years earlier, but it became natural conduct and behavior in every opportunity he had to meet Yidden. And in later years, he was many times in the hospital, and we all witnessed where what kept him occupied and even gave him a chayas was speaking to a nurse, a doctor, anyone, a therapist, to be mechazik them and encourage them to put on tefillin. And he would meet a chaplain. He would ask the chaplain, how much are you doing to put on tefillin and Yidden and be mechazik them? This is what it looks like in life of a real chassid. The words of the Rebbe, Chayim v'kayomim la'ad. It's something that's a chay lahachyos, something he lived with, and encourages all of us to go in those ways. We'll now hear the Farbrengen of the Rav here in 770 this year.
In Bosilogani Tovshin Chof bringt der Rebbe von Baal Shem Tov, von Kesef Shem Tov, was der Baal Shem Tov hat gesagt, als Aid, wenn der sagt, Eishi es Hatere, die Eishi es allein, seine Mamschich Eure in alle Eulemes. Bis sie voran der Moschel auf dem, was man geht, zu verstehen, als einmal ist geworden ein größer Building, was sie geworden finster, hat der Tate gesagt zu sein Kind, geh herab im Basement und öffne die Switch. Hat der Kind das getan, ist herabgegangen im Basement und geöffnet den Main Switch, ist geworden, versteht sich, lichtig in der ganze Haus, alle Floors von dem Haus sind geworden lichtig. Aber der Kind hat geschrien zum Taten, es ist noch alles finster. Sagt ihm der Tate, komm, du bist im Basement, in einem finsteren Basement. Siehst du nicht die Lichtigkeit, aber es ist gemacht lichtig. Mit ein Tnur hast du gemacht lichtig die ganze Building. Also sagt der Baal Shem Tov, ein Mensch, torn ist sein Kind onov in a Zazach. Das ist ein Nivus, Shaloi b'mikoimei. Also wir sagen, mi ani, und mo ani, was kann ich in meine Wörter auftan? Aber wissen Sie, als Achuz dem, was ist Mamschich euch in alle Elemes, ist Maloch im Betten sich. Maloch im Betten sich. Wie steht, als Chaverim, Makshivim, Lekoilech, Hashmiein, sie sagen, beten sich, als man soll sagen, was mehr Oisi es hat teure, Oisi es hat viele. Und nicht nur, der Rebbe sagt dort, und nicht nur, Neshom ist von Atzilus, nur Malochim von Brie, Yitzire, Asiya, beten sich, am soll sagen, Eishes Atere. Und die Eishes, was ein Mensch sagt, soll nicht meinen, als Moani, was tut so auf, sie tun nur gewaltige Sachen, was mir sieht das nicht, wie der Moschel, was ich habe gefragt, der Mond, am steht in einer finsteren Keller, in einer finsteren Basement, sieht man nicht die Lichtigkeit von dem ganzen Building. Aber der was ist Mamin in dem, sagt der Rebbe, ich nehme von Baal Shem Tov, als mit Wort von Teire und Tfile, peilt man auf, a teine Godel bei dem Ebersten allein, was der Eberste kuscht die Lippen von den Menschen, was redt heraus, die Eishi es Atere wat Tfile. Er sagt, was ist, nicht als Emoji, aber da bringt der Rebbe dem Wort von Baal Shem Tov. Der Eberste guckt sich herein und tracht sich herein in die Wörter, was kommen heraus vom Meul von den Menschen, was die Wörter, was kommen heraus, und der Eberste kuscht ihm auf seine Lippen. Ach, der Teine Goder, sagt der Rebbe, ein Mensch, wo der tracht sich herein in dem, wollte doch Judin dem sagen, die Eishi Atere, mit der gewaltigen Vergnügen, der gewaltige Islavus, שדו כאן עמוק ימייך zu der Monen, auf der Mond Chavdale Tevis, als der Rebbe der Mond in Hayem Yeim, asach Inyonim, was ist ihm den Berumit של Eilom, aber es kommt zu gehen in Gas und sagen, Eishi es Atere, ist das sehr asach Mo, letzte Mal aber der Mond Nain, sie bei ihm ist doch Finef, was steht bei Ferisch Balpe, aber die andere redt sich echt wegen Eisies, die Meile von Sogen Tilim, die Meile von Lern Chumisch, aber wegen Balpe sagt der Rebbe verschiedene Timing auf dem. Der Tam, man macht rein dem Avir, und man wird Potter von Chiba der Kever von Kafakela, und ein anderer Ort sagt der Rebbe, der Stein soll nicht haben, kein Teine, sagen Bullach in der, was trittst auf mir, mit was bist du besser von mir? Die Eishi ist, was man geht in Gas, und man tracht, oder man redt, gedenkt, aber es ist ein Kind, hab ich einmal gesehen, ein älteren Chossid, in Russland, in Samarkand, gewesen Reb Shmuel von Krislave, als hat man gerufen, der Tate von der Notik, von Jankel Notik, von Schomber Notik. Und ich habe gesehen, gedenke ich, Ad Hayem Azeh, eben gewesen, ein kleiner Ring auf Arba Mitzvah. Und ich habe gesehen, als geht in Gas, in Samarkand, auf Chodjumski Avenue, auf Chodjumski Gas, wer es weiß, was das ist. Und wird, Eishi es Atere, da hat mir gemacht, einen gewaltigen Eindruck. Als der Jema sehr, gedenke ich das, wir gegangen und gesagt, Eishi es Atere. Aber es ist da genug, Oistuchazer und Mishnayes, Tanja, und gehen in Gas, und sagen das, oder trachten das, wenn sich mehr sagen kann, besser am sagt das, sagt in Tanja, als Eishi es Adibu, is mamshecha extra makit no mailo is aber Rebbe kann ich sagen hol auf gestrachten ein Sach sagt der Rebbe gleich die erste Sache in Hayem Yem als durch dem was mir geht in Gas und mir sagt ich es Atere is mir maher die Ingen von Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu aber das wird sein, bekoriv mamisch, als wir alle sicher sein, zu des Galus von Reben, Melech HaMashiach, Yechia Dineinu, Mereinu ve Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach, Leilam Voed.
The Rebbe always calls on us for Svadius to be Svadius Pi'ilois, in which we make Achlatas Tevis. Achlatas Tevis is not only making good Achlatas, but Achlatas that are going to come to be good, come to fruition in a Peil Mamish. Let us utilize this heightened moment of Rosh Chodesh Shivan K'ish Echad B'Lev Echad to really implement the inyanim of what we've heard now, whether it's a chizuk in limud HaTorah b'chol eis mitzvah, whether it's inyan of recognizing and nagu kavod zeh b'zeh, to have true, genuine respect and love, b'leiv echad to each and every yid, and go in the ways of Darkei Achsidis, of the way the Rebbe wants us to go, especially as we prepare for Matan Torah, is a time where we all unite in a tefillah to the Meibishn, that just as by Matan Torah, all those that needed a refuah had a refuah, that every yid who's in need of a refuah gashmi, refuah ruchni, those who need it in the yanim of health, those who need it in the yanim of children, should be gebenched with zarachai v'kayama, and every yid should have kol tuv gashmi v'ruchni in these last moments of golos l'chol b'nei Yisrael ya'er b'meshveisam eir b'tev hanirev hanigla. And we also encourage you all to participate in the keren that was established, keren harav Schwei. You can go on charity.com/Rabbi Schwei and contribute. It's a big schus for the inyanim that were very dear to the Rav to continue. That those inyanim should have a chizuk and a kiyum. And this kinus of Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah, permeated with Achdus Yisrael, is the greatest preparation that we ready ourselves for the ultimate Matan Torah, the Torah of Teirasei Shel Mashiach, that we should have it, Teikef Umiyad Mamish. And as the bracha, the Rabbeim always wish, we should be zeicher to Kabbalas HaTorah, B'simcha u'B'primius.